Hey everyone, and welcome! If you're a coach, you definitely know this feeling. The game is on the line, you give what you think is the absolute perfect piece of advice, and, well, nothing happens. Or even worse, it totally backfires. Today, we are going to dive into a really powerful new way to think about coaching feedback, especially in high-pressure sports like volleyball, so we can make sure your message actually lands when it matters most. I mean, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? You've got the knowledge, you can see the mistake clear as day, but there's this huge disconnect between your instruction and your athlete's execution when the pressure is on. It's a super common frustration, but the reason why might actually surprise you. It has way less to do with what you're saying and a whole lot more to do with how your athlete's brain is receiving it. Just picture it. It's match point. The gym is absolutely electric. Your server toes the line, and you yell out, "Toss forward!" I mean, it's a cue you've drilled 1,000 times in practice. And what happens? The ball sails right into the net, game over. The instruction was technically correct, so what on earth went wrong? The answer is all about what feedback really is in a high-stress moment.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we'll look at why that old-school feedback just doesn't work. Then we're going to introduce a game-changing concept, signal before information. After that, we'll explore your role as the team's thermostat, and I'll give you a toolkit for delivery under pressure, plus a framework for your very next practice. And finally, we'll talk about your next step.
All right, let's jump right into section 1, the feedback that fails. Because look, to build a new model, we first have to really understand why the old one, the one most of us are probably using, tends to break down. So the instruction model, this is probably how most of us were taught to coach, right? We see an error, we give a verbal correction. It seems so simple, but this model makes one massive assumption, that our athletes have the mental space and the emotional stability to actually process that information in real time. But under the crazy pressure of a match, that mental bandwidth just isn't there. Their system is already completely overloaded. And that brings us to the absolute core idea of this entire explainer: signal before information. This is a fundamental shift in how we see things, and honestly, it changes everything. We need to get away from just delivering information and start understanding the signal we're sending. So let's put these two models side by side. The old instruction model, it's all about the content, the what. But the new regulation first model, it focuses on the athlete's state, the how. And what's so fascinating here is the change in priority. Before an athlete's brain even starts to unpack the words you're saying, their nervous system registers the signal you send, your tone, your urgency, your body language. And that signal tells them if things are stable and okay, or if they're threatening and chaotic. So here is the crucial point. Your athlete's state, their level of arousal, their emotional stability, it acts like a filter. And if they're over-aroused or just emotionally flooded, that filter is completely clogged. Your brilliant technical cue? Yeah, it's not getting through. In fact, it might even be perceived as more pressure, more noise, which just makes the problem worse. The athlete's state determines if your instruction is even usable. This all leads to a really powerful realization about our role as coaches. We aren't just information providers. We are the thermostat. In those high-pressure moments, our most important job is actually to be a source of regulation for our athletes. Think about this metaphor for a second, because it's a powerful one. A thermometer, it just reflects the temperature in the room. So when the pressure in the gym heats up, a thermometer coach gets frantic, they get loud, they get urgent. They're just reflecting that chaos. But a thermostat sets the temperature. A thermostat coach uses their own calm and presence to regulate the entire environment, to bring stability and order to all that intensity. So which one are you? And this quote right here, it just says it all. Coaches cannot out-instruct their own nervous systems. Let that one sink in. Your own internal state is the most powerful part of your message. If you're frantic, that's the signal your athletes receive, no matter how perfect your words are. Your calm is a tool. Your stability is an intervention. Okay, so we get the why, that's the theory. Now let's get into the how. Let's build a really practical toolkit for what we can call regulation-aware coaching. This is all about delivery under pressure. Here are 4 key principles. First, you've got to read the state. Look at your athlete. Are their eyes wide and unfocused? Is their movement getting stiff and rigid? That's your clue that they're overloaded. Second, use minimal cues. I'm serious. Under pressure, less is always more. Short, familiar phrases like next one or same rhythm help stabilize them without adding more mental clutter. Third, time it right, and we'll dig into that in just a second. And fourth, and this one is tough, practice restraint. You have to recognize that sometimes the absolute best coaching move is to say nothing at all. Okay, let's talk about timing. The when is just as important as the what. During play, like between points in a volleyball match, your focus should be 100% on regulation. Short, stabilizing cues only. Now, in timeouts, you've got a little window for some selective instruction, but always after you've calmed things down first. And practice? Well, that's the time for high-density learning and all that detailed technical feedback. Confusing these windows is one of the biggest reasons for performance breakdown. So, how do we make this easy to actually use in the heat of the moment? I mean, things are moving a million miles an hour. Let's look at a simple framework that connects all these ideas together. This table just makes it incredibly clear. If your athlete is highly dysregulated, visibly flustered after a mistake, your only goal is to stabilize them. A simple next one does that job perfectly. If they're just moderately regulated, you can use an anchor cue, something like same rhythm, to bring them back to a familiar feeling. And only when they are well regulated, when they're calm and focused, should you even think about delivering specific technical instruction like get your elbow higher. You have to match your feedback to their state. And it's so important to remember, this isn't just about winning the next point. This is a long-term developmental strategy. By consistently providing a stable regulatory environment, you're actually teaching your athletes how to manage their own states. You're building more resilient, more independent performers who can find their own calm under pressure. You're moving them from relying on you to being able to regulate themselves. So, as we wrap up here, I want to leave you with this one question to really think about. In those critical moments, is your communication organizing the intensity for your athletes, helping them focus and access their skills, or is it just adding more noise, more pressure, and more chaos to an already overloaded system? If this new way of thinking really resonates with you and you want to go deeper, here's exactly how you can take the next step on this journey. To really get a handle on these concepts, you should check out the workbooks on mental performance in scored sports, or MPSS. There are versions for both coaches and athletes that give you detailed frameworks to put all of these principles into action. They're available on Amazon, and you can find a ton more resources at flowmpc.com. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Now go be a thermostat.